Hello, everybody. Good morning. How are we doing today? Hello, Elsa. How are you doing? Nice to see you on the chat. Right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's session, which is run by Amazon. My name's Heather. I'm from Career Map. I'll be your host today. And this morning, I'm joined by the Amazon team who'll be talking all about apprenticeships for females in STEM. For those of you who aren't familiar with this webinar platform, you can ask your questions in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. The team will do a presentation where we'll hear all about apprentices and all about the opportunities that are available. And then after they've finished their presentations and discussions, we'll be opening the forum for Q&A. So please ask any questions that you've got in the chat box. There is an email address which we'll share at the end of the session if for any reason your question doesn't get covered. And then also a bit of a note to know that the session is being recorded. It will be sent to you via email, so you don't need to worry about missing out on it as a resource to go back to. And I think on that note, it's my cue to disappear, hand over to the team, and see you again for the Q&A.
Great, thanks, Heather. So yes, good morning, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending our webinar where we're going to cover some of the STEM-related apprenticeships that we have here at Amazon. So I'm Adam. I work in the UK apprenticeship team, focusing on the attraction and assessment of apprentices primarily across the Amazon corporate division, so kind of everything outside of operations mainly. I've got some colleagues with me today, which I'll invite now to quickly come on camera, please, and introduce yourselves. Okay, thank you. Okay, so left to right then. Hasana, can we start with yourself?
Hi, my name's Hasana. I'm an apprentice solutions architect in the healthcare public sector team.
Thank you. And Saranya?
Hello, everyone. I am Applied Science Manager in Alexa AI Division. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Shri?
Hi, I'm Shri. I'm the Apprenticeship Program Manager for apprenticeships in the corporate sector. I work with Adam.
Thank you. And then Sana?
Hi, I'm Sana, IT engineer in Amazon, UK5 based in Peterborough, and I used to be an apprentice in Amazon.
Great, thank you everybody. So yeah, if you turn your cameras and microphones off again for me, please, and then we'll see you all a bit later. Okay, so before I welcome my colleagues back to talk through apprentices from their perspective, I've got a few slides I'm going to run through on Amazon, on apprenticeships, what it's like to work here, etc. For those of you that this is part of a series, so for those of you that have attended one of our webinars before, the initial information I give you will be repetitive. You'll have heard it before. Then the middle part of the presentation will focus specifically on STEM subjects, and then you'll hear from all my colleagues, which is probably the most interesting part for you anyway. So if you've seen this before, just forgive me for the first few slides while I just talk through a bit about Amazon and what we do. So Amazon then. Now, typically, most people have heard of Amazon. Most people have used our products and services in some way, particularly during the last 18 months, 2 years during the pandemic, when it's been very difficult for us to get out of the house, get to the shops. The online retail part of our business has been a real key resource for a lot of people. But we've grown massively since 1994, when Jeff launched Amazon initially as an online bookstore. From his garage on the left-hand side there, you can see the photo of Jeff sat there with some very old-looking computer equipment now, kind of launching Amazon.com for the first time. You fast forward to today, the right-hand side is our Sphere office in downtown Seattle, a very nice-looking building, which is a meeting space for Amazon employees in Seattle. We've currently got around about 1.6 million employees worldwide, so a huge company, lots of opportunities, still growing. So I'll talk about that in a moment, but we are massively growing still. So it's a really good place to work if you want to have a kind of multi-year career doing lots of different things. Then it's honestly a great place to be. Amazon itself then, so a lot of people see us as an online retailer. A lot of people see us as a tech company. We are both, and a lot of things in between as well. So some of those logos on the screen there that you'll see, you may recognize, but didn't necessarily think they were part of Amazon. So things like Whole Foods, is a part of Amazon. Ring, the kind of video-based doorbell system, is based in our Cambridge office. We've got apprentices working there at the moment, software developers, etc. But as you can see, everything from fashion. So we have an Amazon fashion department. We've got apprentices working as fashion buyers for Amazon, right through to robotics. So we've got apprentices working in our warehouses on the robots that move all the parcels and packages around quickly. So the next slide here, this just emphasizes the point. There's even more logos on the screen here. All of these are part of Amazon. This slide's a couple of years old now, and it doesn't even include everything that we do. It just enhances the point that we are a massive company that does a lot more than people necessarily think. And the good thing about Amazon is working for us, you've got the chance to move around across a multi-year career, work in lots of these different business areas, doing lots of different things. So you'll never get bored. You'll never get stuck doing the same thing through the rest of your career. You are encouraged to move around and try different things and challenge yourself. One of the founding principles of Amazon was customer obsession, and is still today. This is obviously Jeff, our founder, who spends a lot of time these days in space, going out in rockets to space, all those exciting things. But when Jeff launched Amazon, customer obsession was a key founding principle. And pretty much everything we still do today is based on customer obsession. Now, what we mean by customer obsession is you basically start with the customer. What do they need? How do they need it? What can we do better? And you work backwards from there to figure out how to do it. It doesn't matter what role you're in. That is the mindset of people across Amazon. And your customer can be the external customer using all our products and services, or it can be internal. So an internal stakeholder can be your customer. So if you're really focused on the customer, what do they want? How do they need it? How can we do it better? How can we make the experience better for them? That's customer obsession. That's why Amazon has been so successful. And the growth and the scale of what we do is because everything is focused on the customer. Essentially, if it's not right for the customer, we generally don't do it. So that customer obsession leads to innovation. There's a very small selection of some of the innovation we've done on the screen there. So some of you may have an Alexa, home automation. That was all driven through innovation. How do we think we can improve, customer experiences? Obviously, cloud computing, huge part of our business. Advanced shopping, where you can essentially go into a store, pick up the items, walk out without paying. It's all done through technology. It's all done through the app, which is essentially innovated through customer feedback, which told us that the worst part of the shopping experience was the queuing and paying at the end. So we've launched Amazon Go, where you can essentially eliminate that queuing and paying at the end, and it's all done through technology. So you can have a look online if you're interested in that, but it's an example of a lot of the innovation that we have across the business, and you are encouraged as an Amazon employee to innovate every day. Doesn't matter what job you're doing, what level you're at. If you can think about new ways of doing things, better ways of doing things, that's what we encourage across Amazon. So again, that comes back to never being bored. There's always something to do. There's always something to innovate on behalf of customers. A little bit now about our leadership principles and our culture. So the leadership principles are really important to Amazon. I'll come on to the next slide. Will show you the leadership principles, but they are ingrained in our recruitment processes. They are part of our day-to-day work. How we behave at Amazon is all driven by the leadership principles. And it's our view that if people can demonstrate those leadership principles, then they're on the right track to being a successful employee at Amazon. So my first kind of tip of the day, if you are going to apply, if you've already done so, just make sure you're aware of the leadership principles. Make sure that you do some research and you can give us examples of times when you have demonstrated them, either in your work experience, college, university, your personal life, hobbies, etc. Because again, it's our view that if you can demonstrate these leadership principles, then you're on the right track to being a successful employee. One of which I'll really quickly pick out, number 10, learn and be curious. Is all about the idea of, doesn't matter what role you're doing, what level you're at, you should always be asking questions, learning how to do things. Why is it working that way? Has anybody thought about doing it differently? So again, whether you're me or whether you're Jeff Bezos, you should always be learning, asking questions, and thinking of different ways of doing things, because you might come up with an idea that somebody else hasn't done. Even if they're more experienced than you, you think in a different way. It's obviously very important to apprenticeships, which are all about learning. which I'll come on to in a second. So that's just an example of what we mean by learn and be curious. But there's 15 other leadership principles. So have a read through them. They're all on our website with descriptions. And certainly if you get to the interview stage, just be prepared to give us examples of how you've demonstrated them. So as I mentioned earlier, with 1.6 million employees at Amazon, it's a very diverse business. And diversity, I know every company says it, but diversity is critical to what we do and how we do it. So when we talk about diversity, it's not just ethnicity, gender, things like that. It is your way of thinking, your approach to work, your background. So we want to hire people from a diverse range of backgrounds as possible, because that then drives innovation, because people think differently, people work differently, and we don't want to go out and hire the same person that thinks in the same way. So it's really critical to us through the recruitment process, but also when you're in the job, that we have people from various different backgrounds, different thought processes, different ways of working that allows us to innovate. Some of the affinity groups that we have on the screen here, this is a very small selection, but there's huge support, lots to get involved in. So Ben, for example, is the Black Employee Network. We've got Amazon PWD, which is the people with disabilities. We've got women at Amazon, we've got women in engineering, and these are all set up and run by Amazon employees. So you can get involved in lots of different things, and it's the aim is to make it a really fun and inclusive place to work. There's so much you can get involved in, and it's really critical for us to have all these things in place that ensures that people are comfortable, happy working, because again, that then leads to all that innovation, which leads to growth, as I mentioned before. Okay, so today we're going to be focusing specifically on our STEM apprenticeship programs. Again, this is part of a series, so there are other webinars that you can watch, which are all on the Career Map website, which talk about our non-STEM programs. So this is not everything we have. This is just focusing today specifically on the STEM programs. But apprenticeships in general, we've got over, I think it's around about 30 programs, apprenticeship programs across the UK at the moment, right across operations, technology, engineering, and then some of our kind of sales, corporate related roles. But Amazon is a great place to do an apprenticeship, because the number of apprentices we're hiring year on year is growing. The support from the business at a very high level is increasing, and the wide range of programs that you can do at Amazon is bigger than it's ever been. So essentially, a very high level, an apprenticeship is it's a structured learning program, which is partly in an educational setting like college, university, or the training provider, and partly on the job. So you approximately spend about 80% of your time on the job, doing the day-to-day job with your team, working on critical projects, etc. And then about 20% of your time off the job. And what we mean by off the job is in a learning capacity. So that could be classroom-based learning, it could be virtual learning, it could be workshops, it could be work shadowing. That can take many forms, but essentially you need to spend at least 20% of your time off the job to kind of study towards the apprenticeship, learn all the theory, etc. So one of the best things about an apprenticeship is you get paid while you're doing the qualification. So Amazon will pay through the apprenticeship levy for your qualification, and then you get paid during the apprenticeship. So it's very different to staying in education, where you would essentially have to pay for a degree, for example, and then while you're doing that degree, you would get limited work experience because you're in full-time education. So with an apprenticeship, not only are you getting paid to do a qualification, you're also gaining really valuable work experience. So across a 3-year program, you get a degree at the end of it, you get 3 years of Amazon work experience on your CV, and you come out of it with no student debt. So again, I might be quite biased given my role, but an apprenticeship for a lot of people is a no-brainer when you put it like that. But essentially, apprenticeships will allow existing or new employees to retrain or upskill. So if you're looking to upskill in an area that you're interested in, or retrain into a completely different area as a career change, an apprenticeship is great for that. So it's not just for 18-year-olds straight out of college. We've got apprentices in their 40s, in their 50s, who are using an apprenticeship to retrain, change the direction of their career, and do something they're passionate about. We've got programs at various different levels, from level 2, which are kind of entry-level programs that don't really have any entry criteria attached, right through to degree-level programs at level 6, where the entry criteria is the same as if you went to university, so require certain A levels, etc. So essentially, it doesn't really matter kind of what stage of your academic career you're at, what qualifications you have. There should be a program that kind of meets your interests. And before I welcome Shri back to talk you through the programs one by one, we've got over 1,100 apprentices across Amazon at the moment. You may have seen announcements in the news in the last few weeks that we're looking to hire similar numbers again this year. So the apprenticeship numbers are hugely growing across Amazon. And it's, as I mentioned before, from everything from operations through to our corporate roles, there are a huge range of programs which would meet your interests. So the website will show you that later. The link to that's a good place to start. It has all our programs listed there, so you can have a read and see which ones you're particularly interested in. But now I'd like to welcome Shri back, who's going to talk you through 8 of our STEM programs, which hopefully you're going to be most interested in today. So over to you, Shri.
Thanks, Adam. As you can see on the screen, we have several STEM-related programs across the company. Software development, solution architect, data analyst, and Devops are all in our corporate offices. And the automation engineer, the IT engineer, the IT support, and advanced mechatronics are in our operations fulfillment center settings. You can see on the screen here the level of each program. So level 6 is the degree, level 4 is the higher national diploma kind of level, and the level 3 is the advanced, which is like GCSE kind of a level. The durations are 18 months up to 48 months. Now, we can have an apprenticeship which can finish a little earlier than the said duration. And that's why we always say that our apprenticeships are like between 36 months to 48 months for a degree generally. Okay, so the software development engineer is a 36 months to 48 months duration. They are the degree levels. Again, they are based in our corporate offices in London, Bristol, and Cambridge this year. You will get a degree in digital and technology solutions, which is a bachelor's degree. And you will be based in various teams like Alexa, Prime Video, IMDb, and so on. So that's our software development engineer. Then the solution architect is the same degree, the digital and technology solutions professional degree, but the solution architect apprenticeship will follow the IT consultant pathway, whereas the software developer will follow the software developer pathway. So the similar degree, but the pathway is slightly different. So some of the modules for both the degrees will be similar, but then once you start doing your pathway specific modules, then you will have different modules on this. The solution architects are based in our AWS and generally work with other teams who are working on the cloud computing and so on. Again, the AWS is private sector and public sector, so 2 different sections in that, based in London mainly. The automation engineer is the fulfillment center based apprenticeship. So these are the apprentices, people of automation engineers who kind of look at things, how they can be automated in our fulfillment centers. And this is a bachelor's degree as well, but mainly based in our fulfillment centers. The data analyst is a level 4 qualification, and it is again based in our corporate offices, various teams in corporate offices, again London, Bristol, Cambridge, maybe in Manchester as well, where you will be analyzing data and playing with data, learning how to query the data and get reports as required by the teams. The Devops is the new addition to our apprenticeship portfolio this year. This is again in corporate offices, mainly in the AWS area of our company. It is a level 4 apprenticeship, and you will be working on the DevOps teams, where you will be learning bits of coding, bits of cloud computing, bits of IT infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, to make sure that you are developing solutions to make things easier for the teams. The IT engineer is a degree program for fulfillment center, mainly this year in England and in Scotland at various places. This is, you will mainly gain a qualification related to the network engineering. So the degree that you will do is exactly the same degree, that is the Digital and Technology Solutions Professional. And the pathway that you will follow in this one is the network engineering pathway. So there are 3 degrees with 3 different pathways that you can select, but the degree is similar degree, 3 different pathways. Here you will be working on networks and looking at how you can automate networks or make things better for the fulfillment centers. IT support engineer is 18-month level 3 qualification. This is like a first step before you go on to a networking qualification. This is where you will work on the IT infrastructure bit, machines, laptops, PCs, to make sure that they are in good working condition and do not have any problems. So this is like the first step before you go onto the network engineer if you want. The advanced mechatronics is something where you will work on making sure the fulfillment centers have everything ready technically and it doesn't break. And if it breaks, how you can fix it. So this will be a 48 months level 3 qualification, mainly based in our fulfillment centers across the country, UK wide. Yeah, so that's it from me. If you want to know more about these schemes, the information is on our website, so you can look at the website, see more about the required qualifications, basic requirements, etc. If you have any questions on these further, please do email us. We will show our email address at the end of this presentation.
Great, thank you, Shri. So yeah, as Shri ran through there, there's essentially 8 programs that we have at the moment which kind of fall within STEM. So whether it's engineering, IT, or whether it's kind of software development, solutions architecture, if you've got an interest in any of those, as Shri said, have a look at the website, find out more information. And as you saw, we've got programs at different levels. So if you're looking to do, if you've got A levels behind you, looking to do a degree, there's the level 6 programs. If you don't, then there's a level 3 programs which you can do. And a lot of apprentices who start at the lower level apprenticeships do work their way up to the higher level ones as well. So if you were to do a level 3 or level 4 apprenticeship, once you've completed that, that doesn't need to necessarily be the end. You can then work your way up to a degree level apprenticeship if you want to do that. So there's various options there. But essentially for those programs, we quite often get asked the question, kind of what's an ideal candidate? Now, the short answer is we don't really have an ideal candidate because the programs are so different. So it depends. Each one has different entry criteria, different requirements, etc. But for our STEM programs, one thing that does kind of connect them all, and also all apprenticeship programs, is you have to be passionate about learning new skills on an apprenticeship. So it doesn't matter what program, what level. you'll be working towards a qualification. And so you have to be open and passionate about learning new skills and developing. And through that, you have to be committed to your own development and take ownership and responsibility of completing the work. So I mentioned before, you get the 20% off the job time to focus on the apprenticeship, and your team and your hiring manager will give you that time. But it's only you that can be successful on the program. You get lots of support. You get buddies. You get mentors. You get support from Shri and the other program managers, and also the training provider. So the structure is there for you to be successful, but you have to be passionate about learning new skills, and you have to be willing to put in the hard work to complete the program, because it is that balance between doing the day job and the qualification and the studies. And then particularly for our STEM subjects, and I guess for all apprenticeships again, it helps to be passionate about what you're doing. So if you're in an engineering role, it really helps if you're passionate about engineering. Again, which is why some people use an apprenticeship to change the direction of their career, because they might want to be an engineer but not have the qualifications to do so. An apprenticeship allows you to get those qualifications to retrain as an engineer. So it really helps if you're passionate about what you do and you're open to learning new skills and have a desire to kind of make the most of the opportunity. Okay, so now I'm going to welcome back Saranya, who's one of the hiring managers in our Alexa team. So she's going to talk about apprenticeships from her perspective. So Saranya, over to you.
Thanks, Adam. Hello, everyone. My name is Saranya, and I am an applied science manager in Alexa AI organization. So my team is responsible for making the understanding part of Alexa better. And I manage a team made of applied scientists, research scientists, software development engineers, knowledge engineers, and we have apprentices in the team who are SD apprentices, software development engineering apprentices. So today I would like to give you a bit of input into what are the responsibilities of apprentices in my team. I look at it threefolded. One of the things that they have to do is learn. And as Adam was pointing out rightly, so learning and being curious. So as part of their modules that they go through with the providers, they are expected to learn the fundamentals and the building blocks of engineering. And learning also comes through working in the team, learning from your colleagues and experienced members of the team. So that is one aspect of an apprentice's responsibility. And the second part is contributing to the team and to the work that we do. This could come in the form of asking questions when there are ideas being talked about, and contributing to pieces of the work that the team are involved in. And the third part is essentially seeing the impact of your work. So as apprentices, they not only learn the theoretical part of it, but they have the ability to apply it in a piece of work and see the impact of that landing to the customer. So those are the three areas where apprentices in my team are involved in and they're responsible for. And I would also like to give you a bit of an input into what long-term benefits you can see as part of being in an apprenticeship program. One of the things that I see is early on in your career, you have the ability to understand the dynamics of the workplace and working as a team, and being able to learn and observe from others in your team. So that's one thing that will help you throughout in your career. And it also allows you to strike the right balance between learning and application early on in the career. So I think the application part allows you to fail fast and learn from there. So I think that's another aspect that is going to help you long term. So I'm glad that you're here to listen to the apprenticeship program, and thank you. Over to Adam.
Brilliant, thank you. We'll see you again for the Q&A at the end. Okay, so next I'd like to welcome back Suna, who is an IT engineer but went through our apprenticeship program. So over to you.
Thank you, Adam. So yeah, I started my journey in Amazon back in 2018 as an IT apprentice. It was a 3-year course starting from an IT technician and then progressing to a network engineer. So my day-to-day job as an IT technician was to configure, deploy, and fix printers, scanners, monitors, as well as other end-user equipments to make sure that operations were able to pick and pack. And we also supported many other aspects of the function. And then I progressed into a network engineer, and I used various different monitoring tools to make sure that the infrastructure was running to the best performance for our customers. We worked on both local and global projects in my home fulfillment center, as well as our small sites such as delivery stations and vendor flex sites. I also got involved in launching those sites, which was very, very rewarding. And I also my job was to mitigate cyber attacks to the business, and also wireless intrusion, training employees to avoid security risks. That was pretty much what we did on the job. I decided to do this apprenticeship when I left sixth form because of my learning style. I prefer to learn using practical skills rather than just theory-based learning, and this apprenticeship had all of this to offer. And here I am today. I am an IT engineer, and I'm very confident in my role only because I was able to get the right real hands-on experience, as well as gaining the qualifications as well. If you're like me and you like to learn by actually doing, then this apprenticeship is perfect for you. And as Adam said, how it worked is pretty much you have 80% off on the job and 20% off the job. So you can work with your hiring manager to decide how you want to manage this. I was working 5 days a week, so I decided that I wanted to do 4 days on the job and 1 day is dedicated to my portfolio or like any sort of courses that was coming up, and that worked very well for me. But if you want to do maybe in a month, do 1 week dedicated to put your portfolio, then you can do that too. The managers are very understanding, and they can be flexible based on how you like to learn. I would. This apprenticeship is very beneficial for your career, I would say, because you get a vast range of useful experiences and skills. You get to work with cutting edge new technology, so you're already ahead of every other businesses. You always get to work with the latest technology, and you get recognized qualifications as well, which will be beneficial for you not only in Amazon but everywhere else as well. And one thing I would advise you is do not be afraid to join. Follow your passion. If you have a passion for IT or any other subjects, don't be afraid to try something different. Keep the drive going, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because we have plenty of specialist trainers and colleagues who have been in the field for multiple years that can help you. It might be a bit challenging in the beginning because it is a new environment, fast-paced environment, but your purpose will be your best motivator. And how I found this apprenticeship myself, I just browsed through the internet. I was looking for some advanced apprenticeships, and I came across this network engineering apprenticeship on government website. So you can also find it on Job Finder. Just any questions, do let me know. I'll pass it back to Adam.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And we'll see you again at the end for the Q&A.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we've got Hassana. Are you there? Hi, welcome back. I'll pass over to you.
Hello. Again, thanks for having me here. I hope you guys are finding this really useful. Apologies for my squashed photo. I promise I don't look like that in real life. So as I said at the beginning, I'm a solutions architect apprentice in the healthcare team in the public sector. And I started last year in January. So I've been here for a little over a year. So some of the stuff that, I can expect to do on a day-to-day basis would include setting my priorities at the beginning of the day. So if I've got any customer calls that I'm shadowing, or if I've got any workshops that I'm going to be supporting throughout the week. So usually I'd go through the exercises that we would have our customers go through. And as an apprentice, there's a lot of learning to do right at the beginning. And I know there was a question in the chat about, in terms of responsibilities, what you can expect at the beginning. Don't be afraid that you're going to be chucked right in the deep end. That's not the case whatsoever, because coming from various backgrounds, your managers and the people supporting you are going to know that to give you that extra support and ensure that you've got all that foundational knowledge before you go on to support customer calls and whatever else you're going to be expected to do later on. A lot of my time is also spending on learning for new AWS certifications. So like Suna said, you can benefit by having all of that expense for you, so you're not spending money on getting those certifications, and you're in a great environment where you can actually play around with these AWS services to enable you to kind of fast track to getting those certifications. And I don't feel like I've ever been given more than I can handle. My manager's been extremely supportive. He's quite flexible with how I spend my time in regards to university. So depending on the pathway that you're on, you may have like a half-day workshop or a full-day workshop every week or every 2 weeks. And then you can plan your time around that during the week in terms of when you will do your reading, when you'll do your studying for the AWS side of things. So I chose an apprenticeship because I wanted to break into the tech industry, but I didn't want to go back to uni to do another degree. So I read geology at the University of Southampton, and I was just thought, I can't, no more student debt. So that is why I went with an apprenticeship, and I knew that extra support is what I needed whilst I learn a whole new degree. And I knew a normal graduate job wouldn't be able to offer that to me. So I found out about this apprenticeship after completing the Restart course. So just a little few seconds on the Restart course. So this is like a 12 to 15 week intensive course that covers foundation of IT, and then it introduces you to the core services of AWS. So I did that. I fell in love with AWS, and then they said, well, AWS is coming out with apprenticeship for solutions architect, and I thought, wow, the stars are aligned. So that's how I found out about this apprenticeship. And I would strongly recommend prioritizing and creating to-do lists. So your to-do list for a week and on a day basis, and heavily using your calendar. That's what's helped me to meet all my deadlines, balance having to complete a degree alongside my my deadlines in AWS with my manager as well. And this apprenticeship has now meant that I need a new 5-year plan because in 5 years I'd said I'm going to be in AWS, but now I'm already here, so I need to come up with a new one. But at the moment I'm trying to become more familiar with Internet of Things, so going down a very specific pathway. So again, as Sonia said, where you have access to cutting edge technologies, and you can't be in a better place to get hands-on experience and to play around with it. And my advice to everyone who's applying or is thinking of applying, just do it, because I thought at the beginning, I was like, I'm not special, I'm not great enough to be in AWS. So regardless of your background, if you've got a degree, you don't have a degree, just apply, because as Adam has spoken about, our leadership principles, that's, all our decisions in AWS when we're working is all based on that. Are you customer obsessed? Are you being frugal? Going back to learning and being curious, you've got all this time as an apprentice. You need to ensure that you're bridging out and you're looking at what other things that you can be learning and getting involved in. Just as a little kind of side note, I mean, I've never worked in an organization as AWS, and it might sound a bit salesy or cheesy, but the culture and the people, it's been incredible. At the beginning, I honestly thought it was a cult because everyone was so nice. People were reaching out to me and saying, you know, do you need some support? Do you need this? How can I help? I was like, wow, this is too strange. But I've honestly really enjoyed my time here. And, you know I am going to go on to achieve great things. So it'd be really lovely to see some of you there. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We'll see you back again in a few minutes for the Q&A. So before we open up for questions, I've just got a couple more slides and a very quick video to show you. But in terms of the application assessment process, it's essentially kind of what happens from here if you're interested. It does vary per program, but essentially for pretty much all of them, there are 3 stages. So you apply online, upload your CV, answer some initial eligibility questions. Then if you're eligible for the program, you are then invited to take the online test stroke video interview part of the process. Again, it will vary depending on which program, but pretty much all of them will have either video interviews or video questions where you're asked to talk about your background, your motivations, your kind of skills, your interests, understanding of the role, etc. And then it may also be combined with an online test, particularly for the SDE program. There's an entry-level coding challenge to do. For some of our engineering programs, there's engineering questionnaires which kind of test your basic understanding of engineering concepts. But and then if you then get through that stage, the final stage is a virtual assessment center. So we've been running these virtually for the last 2 years due to COVID, but we probably will be running them virtually this year as well. Across the virtual assessment centres, you'll get to meet various hiring managers from the teams that you could potentially join. You'd group exercises with other candidates. You'll potentially deliver presentations, do a practical task, and then individual interviews. Again, these will vary depending on the program. The best thing to do is, you can get support all through these different stages. So yes, just be aware of what's required at every stage, and you can get that support throughout. And now I'm going to very quickly now show you a video. This is a few years old, so it was filmed before COVID hit. So some of the COVID restrictions you see in offices these days aren't present in the video. But it was 3 of our apprentices talking about why they did an apprenticeship. They've all got various different backgrounds. So even though it's a couple of years old, it's still really interesting to hear from why they decided to do an apprenticeship and how it's benefiting them. So hopefully if I can get this to work, I will play the video.
When I was 16, I originally wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't see any females in When I was 16, I originally wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't see any females in engineering. So I went into nursing, but this apprenticeship gives me the opportunity to go back and fulfill that dream.
So I studied digital film production, and then after finding very little in the way of work, to find something like an apprenticeship has been that kind of godsend in the way that, you get the guidance, but you also get the experience and you get paid for it.
I was a karate instructor. For me, the apprenticeship has the perfect balance of classroom and putting it into practice and reinforcing the learning.
You get to work firsthand very closely with other colleagues doing exactly the same thing as they do. You get to shadow, you get mentoring, you just learn so much out of it.
You get paid to learn, you get experience, you get a free degree, and then with this apprenticeship specifically, it will allow me to work anywhere in the world.
It builds confidence, it builds, your team building, your interaction, your communication skills. There's so many more aspects.
Within 3 months of this apprenticeship, I'd already learned more than what I had in 3 years of a university degree.
One of the great things about Amazon is that there are so many opportunities. It has been life-changing. It really is sort of seeing my way up the ladder now.
There's not one good path to a perfect education. You can go many different ways, and it's what you make of it.
Okay, so got it to work in the end, but hopefully everybody found that useful. As I said, there was 3 very different backgrounds within that. You had a karate instructor, had a nurse, you had Jake who went to university. All of them are doing an apprenticeship for different reasons for them. But hopefully, as you heard, getting a lot of benefit out of it and learning so much on the program. So hopefully it just kind of reinforces that message. And so before we go to questions then, essentially next steps. So if you are interested in applying, vacancies have been live since the beginning of February. They will be live probably until the end of March. And what I would do is just encourage everybody to get your applications in as soon as possible. So you start essentially the process through the website. So amazonapprenticeships.co.uk is a very good place to start. It gives you detail on all of our programs. Entry requirements, there's videos on there from all of our apprentices, there's some support with applications, all that type of stuff. And then no matter where you are on that website, there's a big orange button in the top right of the screen which says start your journey today. If you click on that, it takes you through to the jobs page where you then submit your application. The email address is there, so apprenticeships@amazon.com. If you've got any questions after today that we didn't get through, or you need any support with your application or anything like that, send us an email. And there is a team of people that Shri and I work with, who one of us will answer your question or direct it to the best person to answer it for you. So 2 resources there to use. So hopefully, yes, if you are going to apply, it's a good place to start. So on that note, I think we'd like to welcome all my colleagues back again. And then we'll take some questions, please.
Well, I have to say that Shree's done an amazing job on answering so many of them in the chat, but there's some good kind of overarching questions that I would really like to put to the team, and also have everybody at home listen to the answers, really, regardless of whether bits and pieces have been answered in the chat. But Nala asked a good question. She said, in your opinion, what makes a good interview?
I mean, I can start, and then maybe Shri and maybe Saranya, so you know what a good candidate looks like. I think from my side, I think for an apprenticeship, you need to find somebody who's passionate about the opportunity. We're not expecting people to come in from day one and be an expert, because you need to learn across the program. But it really does help if somebody is genuinely passionate about the opportunity, making the most of it. So that kind of drive, that determination, just, I guess, leave the interviewer in no doubt how much you want the opportunity. I think for me, it doesn't matter what program it is, that's really key.
I completely agree with what Adam said. You need to show that this job is for you. You are willing to learn. You are willing to put in what it requires to be successful. I think that is the key, and that's what you need to show.
+1. I think learning and ownership is what we mainly look for, and curiosity to learn, right? The curiosity comes when you're passionate about it. So I would say agree with both.
Brilliant. And do you think that within an interview, it is a two-way process? What would you recommend, or what do you think is good as a question to ask to a hiring manager?
I guess, again, something that kind of just demonstrates your interest in it. I think if you're interested in it, you should have lots of questions.
Yeah.
Kind of, what do you do? How do you do it? Where would I fit in? Those types of things. Just show a genuine interest in what you would be doing in the team. I guess, the generic questions about Amazon, how big we are, whatever, just try and make the questions personal to you in the job. Kind of put yourself in a position in that job. What would you like to know about being in that team, working for that hiring manager? I don't know if Hasana and Sunya, having been through the interview process, you've got anything to add there. But I think for me, it's just really just show interest again.
Oh,
I would also. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're talking. Sorry.
Sunya, I think you're on mute. We couldn't quite hear you.
Hi. Yeah. I was saying that it's important to know, just to show that you are really interested in the apprenticeship. Ask about the tools they use, the size of the building, how many buildings they support, everything that you have in your head. Just ask, because it's important, and it shows the manager that you are actually interested, and you're keen to learn, and you want to get an understanding of how the business works, and that gives them a good sense that you will come here and you will want to improve and that sort of thing. So yeah, do ask every question you have on your mind. Don't be afraid. There's never a stupid question. I was asking my managers loads of questions, you know, just day one, you know, what you want to learn. Just start asking from day one.
Brilliant, thank you.
If I can just add to that, I would say ask also who their customers are, because, you know, we're a customer obsessed company. We all, you know, starts working backwards from our customers. So knowing your customer right from the get-go and showing that passion that you want to know who they are, understand them, yeah, that'll take you a long way.
Yeah, and also I'm not sure if they do those tours, but when I started, we had a tour around the FC. So, you know, from day one, I was looking at all the equipments there, and I was asking, oh, how does this work? You know, what do you use these scanners for? What do you use these printers for? So, you know, anything that you observe and you're curious to learn about, just ask on the day. You know, because then you'll have more insight of how the business works.
Brilliant. It sounds like, you know, when you spoke about the whole learn and be curious ethos, you know, when you're an apprentice and you're in the job, but really that applies to the very, very beginning of this whole stage, doesn't it? The whole process, you know, it starts from the beginning when you're having a conversation. Brilliant. Okay, lovely. On to the next question. More of a practical one. A couple of people are asking about what the time frame is from application to hearing back, when we would hear back following an application for the apprenticeship. So if you could just explain the time frames, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it will vary per program because we've got different recruitment teams managing the process for different programs. But I think for some programs the screening has started. But all the screening will be done in the next few weeks. So you'll hear back relatively soon. Either if you're not eligible for the program, you'll receive notification to tell you. But if you are, then you receive a notification via email to be invited to the next stage. So I would say if you haven't heard anything yet, don't worry. Some of the programs we haven't yet begun the screening for. As I mentioned, we've got kind of 30 programs and lots of applications coming in. So it will take us a while to get through them, but we will do so very soon if you haven't heard already.
Brilliant. Thank you. And there were a couple of questions about work experience. And I think that it would be useful to people at home to know that, you know, although that experience within, you know, these fields aren't necessary. In terms of an application, what kind of an experience would you look on as being quite favourable? What tips can you give people who are thinking about making an application to say, well, actually, it would be helpful if you have this on, or if you have already done this, don't forget to put it on. You know, I've been in sessions before when people have done like a Python course, and actually that is completely relevant to put on, and it shouldn't be overlooked. But is there anything else like that you can kind of give people tips on?
So in general, in apprenticeships, you do not, because they are funded qualifications, there are some eligibility criteria that you need to fulfill before we say you are eligible for the apprenticeship. So ideally, a work experience of a similar role does not make you eligible because you are not learning something new. Suppose, for example, software engineering, if you have already worked as a software engineer for a year or two, that does not make you eligible to learn from scratch again because you know certain things already. So in general, apprenticeships do not require work experience in the same subject or same area. However, if you have done any other, like a part-time job or a weekend job that has taught you transferable skills, absolutely put that in to show that yes, you can work with team, you can work with others, and so on. If you have not done any work as such, but you have done any projects in school, you have done Duke of Edinburgh or similar things where you have worked on voluntarily on some topics, worked with others, things like that, you need to put that in to show what transferable skills you have. That will always help. Having said that, you don't necessarily need all those skills, but that just puts you on top of others. So if you can show, yes, I have got several things that I can bring to the role, and I can then work on that more.
I think just to kind of add to that point, I think just think about how your application looks to the hiring manager or the recruiter. So if you are applying, for example, the software development program, and you don't have a qualification, as Shri mentioned, just if you are taking some coding courses online, put that on your CV so that somebody can look at it and think, okay, I can see why they're interested in this program. So just think about, if you can, add things to your CV that demonstrates to the hiring manager or the recruiter why you're interested in that particular program.
Brilliant, thank you. There's just shy of 5 minutes left of the session, so there's just 2 more questions that I'll ask, unless anybody pings something in at the last minute. This should be quite a quick one to answer. Paula says, how flexible is your hiring manager when it comes to choosing when to do your studies?
So studies is basically, it depends on scheme to scheme, but there are some set timetables for certain schemes where you have to attend the workshops and the learning sessions. Other than that, when you can do the off-the-job learning, etc., can be flexible depending on the team, depending on what projects you're working, what deadlines you have. So there is some flexibility around doing the studies, but attending the workshops, you need to follow the timetable given to you by the training provider.
Brilliant, that's very helpful. And then there were a couple of questions around, I think this is the best way to summarize it, top tips for your assessment centres. And I think that might be a good note to finish on, a little word of advice of anything that you can give to people who are about to tackle an assessment centre with you.
Maybe Hassana and Adam, you can share some tips. You have gone through that, maybe the apprentices.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to show a sense of emotional awareness and interpersonal skills. I don't know if Adam's going to be mad at me. One of the tasks that I had to do in my assessment day was, working as a group to prioritize what you would do if you're lost, like at sea or something. So, it would be basic things, don't interrupt somebody, ensure that you're listening to everyone, time management skills. It'll be things like that you need to show that you're able to do, because that's transferable skills that when you go into the workplace, you're able to utilize those to be an effective team member. Things like that. And I would say practice STAR questions, answering them in a particular format, because that's the best way to kind of deliver your answers across. That was what I did. And also ensuring that you've got a very good understanding of the 16 leadership principles, because we've had a few added to that list. So
Yeah, I just add to that. I think an assessment centre it's a combination of that kind of genuine interest and understanding of the role, but then also, as Susanna said, the kind of soft skills. So how do you interact with the hiring managers? How do you interact with the other candidates during the group exercise? All of that. It's your kind of personal approach to the day, alongside the understanding and interest in the role. And as I said, for me, it's really key to leave them in no doubt that you really want the opportunity. Generally, we find that people that come in with the right attitude, work hard, open to learning, do quite well. You can pick everything up. We'll teach you all of the technical side and the job specific stuff, but you have to have the right approach and the right attitude. And that starts at the assessment day. Just approach it in a positive way, do your research, ask lots of questions, treat everybody with respect across the day, interact well with others. That's probably a good place to start.
That sounds great. I think it sounds like a great place to start, to be honest with you. Well, look, I think it's time to finish the session now. I have to say that it's been brilliant. It's been so informative. The questions have been brilliant. Shrey, you've done a brilliant job of covering it all off. Team, thank you for answering them so succinctly and applying your own, personal experiences to everything as well. there's an email address which Adam, actually, if you can just flick back
Sure,
to anybody that has a question, maybe after you receive the recording via email and you think, right, I really need to ask this, the email address is actually here, the last bullet point on this slide. So thank you everybody for attending. Thank you to the Amazon team for putting a great session together. Adam, I'll just hand over to you for a parting statement before we disappear.
Yeah, I mean, it's my same parting statement that I always use, I think, and I think somebody touched on it earlier. Best thing is just give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. Don't think about the reasons why you can't do it. Just give it a shot and do it, because there's plenty of apprentices across Amazon that were unsure about whether they should apply, whether they'd be successful, and are now doing really well for us. So just, yeah, give it a shot.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.